Alright, hi guys. Today I will be doing my review of the AKG K701 headphones. I will start off with the sound quality and then move on to kind of the history of these headphones and just the overall build quality and other stuff related to it. So starting off with the sound quality, the first thing you notice about these is that the bass is not very punchy. It does extend pretty far, so it's kind of on the meh side for bass heads. These are reference headphones, so they are mostly focused on the mid-range and the highs, but it does have good bass extension, so that's good. That's the one thing I don't like about these headphones, is the kind of lack of bass punch, but it does have a very clean sounding bass. Moving on to the mid-range, which is what these headphones are renowned for, it's very clean and articulate. They do have some warmth in it, so like I said in my previous video, this is my AKG model serial number is 84016, which is one of the newer AKG K701s, and from what I've read on Headphone and other resources, it sounds like the newer K701s, like this one, have the same sound quality as the AKG Quincy Jones Q701. Which are known to be warmer compared to the older AKG K701, as well as the AKG K702 headphone, which is basically the same thing but with kind of matte finish blue and that detachable cable, which this does not have. So other than that, the mid-range is still pretty clear. There's very nice detail in the mid-range, especially for the upper mid-range, such as female vocals and upper guitar notes and violins. So that's very good about them. And then moving on to the highs, at first, actually, when I tried them, I was almost really disappointed with the highs because they were really harsh. And then actually I let them burn in with around 200 hours of pink noise, and it did help the highs. So I'm a believer in burn-in for this headphone, at least. So just make sure you guys know that burn-in can help a headphone, but usually it's not a huge difference like a lot of people say. That being said, the highs have really good extension as well as detail. Cymbals have a nice ringing sound to it, and it's just a really nice headphone for kind of a acoustic and classical, as well as some rock. The bass punch is not as prominent as I would like for rock, but it's still a pretty good headphone for rock. Especially love folk with this, folktronica with, again, Beth Orton, like I mentioned in my V-MODA Crossfade M100 video, as well as some classical, like I mentioned. So moving on to the Soundstage, which is another big huge thing about these headphones, sorry, waiting for the autofocus to work, is that the soundstage of the K701 is supposed to be one of the widest sound stages of any headphone available on the market. I can confirm that it has a really wide soundstage, so that's actually one of the downsides of this headphone, is that the soundstage is so wide that it kind of makes it sound a bit unnatural, because the sound is panned to the left and to the right very often, and so it kind of leaves the center imaging a bit devoid. But in terms of like how the sounds sound inside of the soundstage, they are very, very well separated, so you do have really good instrument separation with the K701s, but as I mentioned, it's bit devoid sounding in the middle. I'm not quite sure how to put that into words. You have to listen to it for yourself if you get the chance. But it does present the mid-range forward a tad bit from neutral, so if neutral is, say, right here, and my Shure SRH 940s, which have a very, very, very forward mid-range, they'd be like up here, and the AKG K701 is kind of in between the two. It's not quite neutral, it's not quite super forward, it's just a little bit forward. So I actually really like that with the K701s. It kind of gives a relaxed kind of presentation of the mid-range, which is great for acoustic tracks and orchestra and violins. So I really do enjoy that. Speaking of the soundstage, the K701s are highly regarded amongst the gaming / audiophile community as a result of the instrument separation, the details you get in the treble and upper mid range, as well as the, again, left and right, very good imaging. So I did actually use the K701s almost exclusively to play Assassin's Creed 3 on the PC, and it was such a great experience. I can hear all of the details of the enemies kind of walking around the trails, and I can locate exactly where they were with the K701s. I did try to game with the V-MODA Crossfade M100s, and the detail was good, but it didn't have quite the same imaging as the K701, as well as the detail location. So for a gaming headphone, I would definitely recommend these over the V-MODA Crossfade M100s, just because of the soundstage and the clarity you get and detail retrieval. So for gaming, definitely I would recommend these. In terms of powering them, there's a lot of misconceptions about the K701 needing a ton of power. It's kind of true, they do require more power to get these to reasonable volume levels, but with modern electronics you don't really need the kind of power that people are talking about. So just for a quick test, here's my iPhone 4S, and I'll be playing a Tron soundtrack just to demo it. So AKG K701 straight into the iPhone, and here we go, testing. This is about 40% volume level, and at max volume level it's like you don't even need an amp per se to get these to a high volume level. Like I said, it's a common misconception. So here's at max volume. That's really loud, okay? You don't really need an amp just to get these to reasonable volume levels. That being said, of course, out of the iPhone 4S, it's not going to sound optimal, one, because the DAC is, although it's good, there's some noise, so there's that, and then the amplifier of the iPhone 4S itself is not completely clean, and so you get a kind of grainy sound with the AKG K701s in the treble, and the bass impact is a bit, it's a bit punchier than what I get out of something like the O2, but that might be because of the damping factor. The O2 has a very low headphone out impedance, and I'm not sure about the iPhone 4S, but there is that. So yeah, I do use the JDS Labs Objective 2 amplifier, mostly for all of my music needs for the K701 at home. I do not take the K701s outside of home just because, one, they're really bulky, I can't put them in a bag very easily, they don't fold up or anything, and two, this adapter is not very convenient at all. It's freaking gigantic, so not gonna carry this around outside of my home. So there it is, the AKG K701 sound in a nutshell. Moving on to kind of the history behind the K701. So the K701, the Sennheiser HD 650, and the Beyerdynamic DT 880 are kind of the big three audiophile original headphones. There are basically the three headphones that really got the audiophile community kind of stirred up. So between the three, the AKG K701 has been kind of the most polarizing just because of the highs, I guess, and kind of how bright they sound. That was the older model, so this is the newer model with more warmth in the mid-range and a bit tamer highs. And so that impression is not quite what you would experience with the newer K701s, which is the model that I have. That being said, between the three original, the HD 650 is still the most widely used one because of its really warm, laid back, non-aggressive sound signature. The K701 is kind of still more on the kind of side of audiophiles, but the Soundstage and the warm mid-range are kind of what keeps these headphones alive, I guess. And then the DT880s are known for their better detail retrieval compared to the K701s, but they are also known to be pretty bright headphones, the brightest of the three. And so this puts the K701 kind of in the middle. It's not quite laid back like the HD650. It's not quite aggressive like the DT880. It's kind of neutral in the middle. It does have some warmth in the mid-range. It's not as cold sounding as the DT880s. So that's the K701's history, and I guess I'll just move on to the final things about the headphone. So for me, the headband has not been an issue. It does press against my head, and I can see where that would be a problem for people who don't have a lot of hair. I do have a lot of hair on the top, so it keeps it cushioned from pressing against my head. So the newer K701s, such as the ones that I have, I believe 9 bumps, 2, 4, 6, 8, okay, 8 bumps. The older one had 7 bumps, so there was a bump in the middle here that a lot of people complained about. So with the 8 bumps now, it's kind of spread out a little bit more. One thing I don't like about the K701 is the non-detachable cable, but since I'll be using these at home, it's not too much of a problem. I do really like the long cable length. I believe it's, I don't know, 9 feet long in length. I can get across the whole room without having to take the 701s off my head, so that's good. Like I mentioned, the adapter for the jack is rather bulky and large, so it's kind of inconvenient, especially when plugged into my O2. It's like, man, if this wiggles at all, I hope it doesn't break the jack. But so that's it for the K701 itself. And I do like that it comes with this stand. So the stand is pretty basic, but I don't have another headphone stand, so it's kind of actually convenient to place my K701s in there for storage. So that's it, guys. That's the AKG K701 headphone. This is the newer version with the added warmth in the mid-range. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video, which will be jailbreaking your iPhone or iPod or iPod Touch or whatever, iPad Mini, etc. So thanks for watching, and see you guys later.